Kristen, Steven, hey, congratulations for straightening up and fly right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hey, not a problem. Thank you for speaking to us, but better congratulations that it's being showcased at Slamdance this year. How do you folks feel about that?
Great.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. Also because it's part of the Unstoppable program, which is featuring films that are, the topics are either about disabled characters, created by disabled artists, and they're really, kind of pioneering this movement, which is really important right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the typical presentation, let's say.
I know we definitely do need more stories like this out there. So let's always cover that basic question that every interviewer asks. So what sparked the story? Why you wanted to tell this story?
The fellow who was former president, when he was being interviewed by the New York Times reporter who was disabled, and he made fun of him. Do you remember?
Yeah, you're talking about, yeah.
Yes. That sparked it. Although this has nothing to do with that, that just sparked the first thrust of getting stuff out. And I'll be thankful to him always for that. The only thing I'll ever be thankful for him.
Yeah, that was, sort of the initial snowball effect. And, Steven and I have worked together for 20 years or so. And so our paths have crossed in many ways. And one way in which that we've become a chosen family, essentially.
She's older than me. I don't know if you can tell.
I'm his grandma. I'm his chosen grandmother. And so that was also part of why we wanted to tell the story in the way that we did, which includes a lot of, Steven's experience and our own personal story together, and how we became this sort of unit.
But also, she was cast because she witnessed my experience. She knew it frontwards and backwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Steven, when we started working together, I think I was about 10. And then in my 20s, when things got a little crazy, I wound up moving into the building Steven was in, and we would just work together during the day. And then it just kind of took over a very natural sort of relationship where we were, becoming this sort of unit, and me helping him out in the world, and being sort of the eyes and ears, if you will, of Steven's situation.
And me helping her out.
And me, mostly him helping me, let's be honest.
Yeah. Who needed to help here?
Yeah, that's clear. So the story kind of melds those two things of my sort of needs and Steven's needs, and how we became.
But it was also an opportunity to write not only about our relationship, but to write about a fictional relationship about two disabled people, and putting our relationship into that somewhat.
Yeah.
When you craft a film like this, because it's often debated on in the disabled community on the proper portrayals of disability.
Well, if she wasn't playing my daughter, there might have been a different story. But because she was playing my daughter, I thought the best person to play my daughter was my daughter. And that's the way I looked at it for this film. And also because she spent at least 20 years up close with me every day. So as someone who's a trained dancer, she knew how to move her body in the ways that it needed to be moved. So I only think, in this particular case, this particular role, there's only one person to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people will have complaints about me playing it, a disabled person, but, I think I get by.
It's passable, right? Kristen, could you talk about stepping into the fictional role of Kristen for the film?
Yeah, I think that it was a really interesting experience to kind of go into that world that Kristen is living in, which, is one of feeling very isolated, very lonely, no community, which when we started making this film 6 years ago, that theme wasn't as sort of present as it is now, and everybody's kind of feeling that. And so really going into that isolated world where she can't look up, so her world is very limited just from a physical perspective, but also that kind of creating the emotional disconnect from the world. And for me, that wasn't too far of a stretch. Somebody who's experienced depression and sort of has struggled with that kind of was a way of exploring how might somebody move past that, and what would that take, and I think for me that was really recognizing through this character and through Steven's, ability to help that character, and as well as me, that it's really about finding a community. It's about having an outlet that's beyond yourself, so I feel like the film changed me a lot, and how that experience has made me realize, like, it's really about being, in collaboration with people. It's about getting things out there and opening up your mind and your world to a bigger sense of purpose.
It sounds like it was a overall terrific learning experience. That's what it sounds like.
I think for all of us, right? Yeah.
I think also because, the film operates at least on two levels. There's the disabled level, but there's also the level that I hope everybody relates to, in that, community and lack of community and isolation, and that idea of, being separated and feeling like an outsider. You don't have to be disabled to feel that.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that Kristen, the character, is a dog walker in the film, and that when you did that, making that as her job, was that a sort of like something where it was just sort of like out of necessity, maybe possibly comedic, or you just want to basically portray somebody that could do anything?
Well, we can tell you that the dogs that are in the film were our dogs, since they've all since passed away. Twiggy, Bitsy, and Chloe, who were sort of like the main character dogs. And we had a dog walker who has been like part of this family for a very long time, who would come in every afternoon, take the dogs out. We have this really cool relationship with him. And it just was like that thing that's happening in your life that's around you, that you kind of go like, hey, that'd be a really cool job for the character.
He's in the film as well.
Yeah.
And his place where where all the dogs come when their owners bring them there. So all of that is there.
Yeah. And it was also that kind of thing of like, what is a character who experiences isolation, who kind of prefers to be alone? What would they want to do in the world to survive, right? And I think
well, that's a totally a job where you can isolate yourself.
Yeah.
And be with the
best creatures in the world.
Yeah, the people you love.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. So so how does this co-directing actually work for both of you, since you both were in the movie?
Well, it was always good to have another eye on yourself, while you're in the movie. Although we were in most of our scenes together.
Yeah. In between cuts and takes, we'd be like, don't do that thing, or like, you have something on your face, like.
There's a lot of trust involved, and we're just really there for each other as a safe, a safe haven, let's say, and we trust each other, and we're just looking out for each other. So.
Yeah, and working together for so long before we kind of paired up in that way, we kind of already had like a second secret language, and very just natural way of communicating with each other. So it almost seemed seamless to kind of do that for this project. Yeah.
Well, that makes it a perfect chemistry, especially since you both worked for so long. Now, in terms of disability portrayal in cinema, I mean, one of the things is that that people debate is that there's not enough portrayals in film and television, especially since disability is now 1 out of 4 people. Could you talk more about that, on how, you know, it is important to make more films like this?
Well, I've always felt it was important to include disabled people, especially when the story is not about them. The focus isn't on them, it's just another person. I always have a disabled character in my films, you know, regardless of whether the main character or, you know, just a supporting character. And when they're a supporting character, they're just somebody, another person in the film. You know, I would, you know, hopefully that's my little part in filmmaking, that I could put disabled people in roles that they just normally wouldn't show up in. And was she?
That's how we see the teamwork.
Yeah,
I-
unfortunately, my brain went
Yeah.
disabled at that moment.
Well, I would, you know, being you know, the child of somebody who is, you know, disabled, you see the world differently. You see that you don't often see it portrayed in film, on TV, and if it is, it's, you know, sort of like that motivational story, and oh, feel sorry for this person. And like Steven has always artistically expressed that he wants to include disabled characters, people, stories. I mean, even him being behind everything, that's just part of it, and we shouldn't have to beat it over the head. And that the more that we include it, it becomes normal. You know, even for like women in film, right? It's like that, you know, and we just kind of want to be filmmakers or directors, you know, and kind of putting that stamp on it, sometimes it kind of dilutes the experience of just being part of the whole.
Right.
You know, so I think, you know, it's kind of a special thing that I've gotten to witness the world kind of through his eyes, be the sort of safety monitor at all times, and see the world much differently than other people do. Like, oh, there's not an accessibility ramp, or hey, like, where's the elevator? There's, you know, this doesn't work for people who don't live in a body like mine. A lot of people don't go through the world that way because they've never had to question what would happen if that was taken away. I mean, we are all moments away from being essentially disabled. You know, you get in a car accident, a bike accident, it happens like that. And so it takes a certain, you know, kind of level of experiencing it from, you know, this role, this sort of empathy of taking that on and stepping fully into his life. And I'm a changed person also because I see the world differently. And now I share that with other people around me, you know, who wouldn't have thought about these things, you know, so yeah.
So how do you suppose we should proceed on to like support filmmakers like yourselves to tell more stories of something like this?
Well, I'm very thankful that Slamdance chose our film. Hopefully, you know, that will keep things going. You know, it'll give us more of an audience, and I'll be able to make another film. We'll be able to make another film.
Wow, that is terrific, because it sounds like you both are definitely going to make another film down the road. Can you kind of
He's planning very shortly to put me in a senior home.
I know. We're gonna make a movie about it. That's our next film.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
I'm not senior yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
I just
I am going to, that's where I was leading to, was what is going to be your next project? Can you guys give a hint about that?
Well, there are some ideas being kicked around, but we've just lately been focusing on, you know, this has taken us about 6 years to do, and in the interim of making this film, you know, while we were making this film, unfortunately or fortunately, you know, I had a stroke, I broke my neck, and then I had a heart attack. You know, we had a few disruptions. So we're just amazed that we're sitting here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Steven,
Yeah.
that sounds like endurance for this, and we're
Well,
thankful that you're
It was
okay.
Thursday for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, most excellent. Well, hey, thank you very much for speaking to us about Straighten Up and Fly Right
Thank you.
for this film. And once again, congratulations for showcasing this at Slamdance. And I'm sure a lot of people will talk about this movie.
Thank you.
Very cool. Thanks so much. It was really great talking to
Thank you for interviewing us.
Yeah. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
thank you. And thank you for talking to me on another Thursday.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.